You weren't supposed to notice this because by the time you do, the clock is already against you. It is about 2:10 a.m. on April 15th, 1912, barely 10 minutes before the Titanic disappears, and more than 2.5 hours after the ship scraped the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th. From impact to disappearance, the whole disaster will last only about 2 hours and 40 minutes. The night should feel calm, almost beautiful. The sea is unnaturally flat. The sky is packed with stars, and that stillness is part of what made the iceberg so hard to spot in the first place. But the ship beneath your feet no longer feels right. A crewman rushes past you with the expression of someone who already knows there is no fixing this. A glass moves across the table by itself. A steward ignores a question he would have answered an hour earlier. And at the rail, a lifeboat is being lowered without enough people in it, which is when the real terror begins to form.
Hold on!
Not because you fully understand what is happening yet, but because the people in charge clearly do. You move closer and the details get worse. The officers are still trying to keep order, but order is shrinking by the minute. There were more than 2,200 people aboard Titanic, and the ship carried only 20 lifeboats with room for about 1,178, which means the math was already brutal long before the panic began. Earlier that night, the first lifeboat had been lowered with only about 27 people in it, even though it had room for 65. You hear one crewman ask another how much time is left, and the answer is short enough to freeze you where you stand. Not enough. That is when the question changes from what happened to what do you do now? Do you wait, hoping the officers still have control, or do you move while there is still space to move? Around you, people are making the same decision without saying it out loud. A husband tells his wife to get into a boat. A mother grips her child so tightly the boy starts crying. Someone keeps insisting this is only precaution, but the ship answers him with a deep metallic groan from somewhere inside its hull, and the deck tilts just a little more. Now the final minutes begin to reveal themselves in pieces. By 2 a.m., only 3 collapsible boats remained on board, and by now the bow has sunk so low that the stern's propellers have risen out of the water. The ship is no longer a place of safety. It is a machine failing in public. The officers shout for women and children first, but fear is spreading faster than commands can contain it. A gunshot cracks above the deck. People stumble, collide, cling to rails, and the angle under your feet becomes steep enough that standing still feels like work. Then history tightens like a fist. At about 2:17 a.m., Titanic sends its final distress signal. At about 2:18 a.m., the lights go out. Darkness swallows the deck, and for a second the world becomes only screams, prayers, and the sound of the ship tearing itself apart. When your eyes adjust, the stars come back over black water and you realize the last of the choices are gone. If you are still on the ship now, your chances are collapsing by the second. The stern climbs higher, people start sliding, and polished surfaces turn useless under desperate hands. You grab freezing metal and feel the cold biting through you, knowing that the North Atlantic below is about -2 degrees Celsius, cold enough to shut the body down with shocking speed. Then the ship gives one last violent shudder, and the world tips from desperate to impossible. You lose your footing. The ocean rises. The cold is not pain at first, it is erasure. It steals your breath, then your strength, then your ability to think. Around you, the water fills with voices, terror, prayer, disbelief, animal panic. But the answer to the title has already arrived by then, and that is what makes it so cruel. Would you survive the Titanic's final 10 minutes? Probably not. Not because you were weak, not because you failed some heroic test, but because by the time the truth became visible to everyone, survival had already become a narrow privilege of timing, position, and luck. In the end, only about 705 people would survive the night. And that is the lasting horror of those last minutes. The realization that the ship did not kill most people in one grand dramatic instant. It defeated them slowly, choice by choice, second by second, until the screaming faded. The darkness took the rest, and at 2:20 a.m. the Atlantic closed over the stern as if the greatest ship on Earth had never been there at all.